Welcome to Michael Potts F1, everything Formula One, but from a photographer's point of view. Race 13, the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Oscar Piastri has become the 115th Formula One race winner. He's the 8th youngest winner of all time and the 7th different driver to claim victory in 2024. It was a huge moment for the young Australian. To win a Formula One race after only 35 starts is massive. He does have a sprint race win to his name, but this is the one that really matters. He and his family have had to sacrifice so much for this moment, moving to England at the age of 14 to develop his racing career and spending all of that time away from his parents, his friends, his home back in Australia. But if you were expecting an emotional outpouring on the podium, it didn't come. He acted with the same nonchalance that Max does, 60 race wins into his career. It was like someone who expected this to happen, and that he expects it to happen again, a lot. It was a brilliant drive, and it was a brilliant weekend for the McLaren driver. He was only 0.022 seconds behind his teammate Lando Norris in qualifying. In the race, he had a great start on the inside line with Lando and Max going alongside each other into the first corner, but he came out on top. It was very bold, it was very aggressive, elbows out, and the move paid off. From here, the two McLarens pulled away into a commanding lead. If he had dozed off and taken a nap at this point, and then woken up one lap before the end, you might have thought that this was plain sailing for the Melbourne-born driver. It was anything but that. The Hungarian Grand Prix should be the last race before the summer break. It's a race that has very strong end-of-term vibes. Set 30 minutes from the centre of this beautiful city with scorchingly hot temperatures, Budapest is a must-visit race for all F1 fans. Next year, there'll be a brand new pit and hospitality building, which should be amazing. There are some issues with traffic to and from the track, and what used to be quite a dull race, now with DRS and ground effects cars, it's one of the most exciting races of the year. The F1 movie crew agreed, and they filmed several scenes here this weekend. Last year, filming at this event was interrupted by the writers and actors strike. This weekend, we saw Brad Pitt entering the paddock and both cars taking to the track to film some high-speed action sequences. In driver market news, Kevin Magnussen and Haas have officially parted ways. Magnussen could still get an F1 drive with one of the other teams, but at this stage, it's not looking that promising. There's no news on his replacement yet, but everyone is expecting Esteban Ocon to be announced, and that announcement probably to happen before the summer break. One driver looking to secure their F1 future is Mercedes junior Kimi Antonelli. Fresh from his win at the sprint race in Silverstone, he was leading the sprint race this weekend before his tyres went off, and he tumbled out of contention. But that didn't discourage him. Starting from 7th place on the grid in the feature race, and with the help of a well-timed safety car, he claimed his first ever feature race win. That was a massive moment, and it couldn't have come at a better time for the young Italian driver. I did get a chance to photograph him and his teammate Oliver Bearman as a part of an F1 Experiences tour of the Prema F2 team garage. Oliver Bearman is going to Haas next year, but both these kids are absolutely brilliant. They are such lovely boys, and it'll be brilliant to hopefully see both of them racing in Formula One next year. Kimi Antonelli was born the year before Kimi Räikkönen won his first title, and he'll definitely be one of the youngest Formula One drivers if he makes his debut next year.
In other interesting news, Audi Sauber have just announced that Matteo Binotto is going to be joining as team principal. He'll be taking over from Andreas Seidl on the 1st of August. This is quite a big move, and it's a big step for the team as they prepare to become Audi in 2026.
Lots of the teams brought upgrades this weekend. Interestingly, the team that didn't bring any, McLaren, had the best results. Mercedes made some small tweaks to their lower defector end plates at the rear of the car. This will help improve downforce when the ride height of the car changes. Mercedes bring lots of incremental changes, and I was actually expecting to see them being a bit more competitive. Lewis does love this track, and he did score his 200th podium this weekend, but both cars were definitely off the pace compared to the McLarens. George unfortunately got caught out with the changeable conditions in qualifying, and he was knocked out in Q1. Ferrari bought a new floor. This is part of Ferrari trying to find a new path after their earlier in-season upgrades failed to deliver the results they wanted. The team did perform better this race, Charles Leclerc getting 4th place, but in reality the team is actually the 4th quickest car at the moment. They were a bit closer to the top 3, and I believe they're one upgrade away from being competitive again, possibly in time for Monza if past form is anything to go by for the Scuderia. It did look exceptionally hard to drive, with Leclerc especially looking all over the edge every time he went through turn 4 at speed. It looked as slippery as an eel in an oil slick, likely to spit him out in any direction. It's remarkable that he only crashed there once during the race weekend. But it was Red Bull that brought the biggest upgrade package, but only to Max's car. This is virtually a B-spec car with so many changes all over the top of the car. It's practically a brand new design. There were changes to the engine cover, which is often referred to as the Coke bottle. Gone are those big shoulders or cannons that came out of the halo. These got a lot of tongues wagging at the start of the year. Mercedes had tried a similar concept last year and also couldn't get it to work. They also reverted to a more conventional design. These drastic changes are a response to the feeling within the team that the current concept is development limited. This weekend was an interesting side-by-side comparison between the two cars to see which concept was faster. And interestingly, Perez in the older car was actually faster in race pace simulations on Friday. That was a good sign for the Mexican. Going into this weekend, there were rumours that he was about to lose his drive with mounting public pressure. He's faced a torrid time recently. Well, since his third place in China 8 races ago. I think every race since then has been described as a nightmare for him. In that time, he has only scored 39 points. His teammate has amassed 155 in more or less the same car. He's the only driver in the top 4 teams not to have won a race this year. And it feels like something's almost broken in the Mexican driver, like he's lost part of his ability to drive. It's like he has the yips. In Q1, he had another massive crash, and this was at the worst possible time for a driver trying to save his career. It happened right next to me. I was photographing him coming out of the chicane, and as he went past, everything looked normal, and then I heard a screeching. I turned around to see him thump into the barriers. It was a huge crash. It needed a lot of repairs, and he looked quite shaken as he climbed out of the car. I think this is the 6th time in the past 7 races that he's crashed at some point during the race weekend, and that's unsustainable for a team in the age of the cost cap. It's seen him drop from 2nd to 7th in the championship. His race was a lot better. He fought back from 16th to 7th place, and it was a really, really good drive. But will that be enough to save his seat? He needs something special in Belgium, and it is a track that he's finished 2nd in the past 2 seasons. It would be devastating seeing a driver of his talent going out of Formula 1 in this manner. There are 3 drivers hungrily eyeing his seat. Liam Lawson did well stepping in for Daniel Ricciardo last season. And the next few races are tracks that he's driven a Formula 1 car at. He'll probably have lower expectations than the other 2 candidates, and there might be less pressure for him to match Max's pace. It could be a similar situation to when we saw Alex Albon replace Pierre Gasly. Yuki Tsunoda is delivering the best results of the 3. There are concerns about his temperament. He also had a huge crash in qualifying after he was pushing too hard. He did manage to recover to score points, and he managed to deliver a one-stop strategy perfectly. It was a really good drive from him. He does let his emotions get very high, but he still delivers when it counts. The big question is, can he handle the pressure of being a Red Bull driver? Daniel Ricciardo's career is on a knife edge, and you really feel it could go either way. Either he gets sacked as a Racing Bulls driver, or he becomes a Red Bull driver. The contrast couldn't be starker. He is the most experienced of the 3. He's not yet delivering to the level he used to when he was Max's teammate back in 2018. Going into this race weekend, Red Bull were looking for a lot of answers, but they've left probably with more questions. Jos Verstappen was here, and he did have a clear-the-air meeting with Christian Horner. Jos said the meeting was fine, and neither of them tried to kill each other, so that's a good result. Christian Horner and Oliver Mintzlaff looked very happy together on the grid, and I think the management realizes that they need to pull together, or they're not going to win this year. The disarray in the team now is a result of all the drama that started 6 months ago. And Max even said that the team is not working on the same wavelength. But Max did say an awful lot this weekend. We don't get the radio messages while on track. And in this race, a lot happened over the radio. I was lucky that my brother was texting me messages during the race, so I had some idea about what was going on. But Max was getting very, very angry in the cockpit. He had a heated exchange with his race engineer, JP, and he even had some choice words to journalists in the media pen afterwards, telling his critics exactly where they could go. Max did seem incredibly irate during the whole of the race, and this culminated in a crash between him and Lewis Hamilton. It was deemed a racing incident. There was also a notable change in the way he spoke about the team. Usually, drivers recognize that it's a team effort, so they'll say things like, "We had a good race," We started on pole. But in interviews, Max created a separation. I was trying to save the race. The team gave me a bad strategy. It's a very worrying sign for the team going forward. The new upgrades didn't appear to work. Red Bull also got the strategy wrong, which is very unusual for them. And this left Max very angry. Some people suggested he might be a little bit irritable because he didn't get much sleep the night before. He competed in an esports endurance race, finishing at 3 a.m. And he has done that before and gone on to win a race. But I think in this situation, it's not counting in his favour. There is a lot of pressure at Red Bull, and the cracks are appearing. Can they turn things around in time to save the Constructors' title, and possibly even the Drivers' title? Because Lando Norris thinks he's in with a shot to win it. And he might not be wrong. With Mercedes and Ferrari both taking points away from Red Bull this weekend, there are more chances of Norris closing the gap to Verstappen. And will he come to review the 7 points that he gave away this weekend? The title is a long shot, but it's theoretically possible. However, I think Norris was thinking a little bit more strategically. I think he was thinking more about 2025 when he gave up this win for his teammate. McLaren did put both drivers in a terrible position, but it was a reaction to what happened at the last race in Silverstone. That was a race they should have won. They should have got a 1-2. Had they got their tyre strategy right. They pitted both drivers too late in the changes from slicks to intermediate tyres and then back to slick tyres again. This dropped Norris from first to third and Piastri from second to fourth. This time, they weren't taking any chances. To protect Norris, who was in second from Hamilton, they brought him in first to change tyres. In Budapest, having fresher tyres sooner means that you can attack quicker and gain an undercut advantage over your rival, especially if they pit a lap or two later. The track is still relatively difficult to overtake on, so you're less vulnerable from attack from a car that has fresher rubber. Norris benefited from this advantage in both pit stops and ended up ahead of Piastri. Usually the lead car in a team gets the best strategy. This was not the case. McLaren still had a 1-2. The team knew that because of its pit stop strategy, they had stolen the maiden victory from Oscar, and they decided that it was better to do the right thing and ask Lando to give the place back. What followed was torturous. Lando struggled with the decision of what to do. It was like watching scenes from Hamlet. He doesn't have many wins, just one. To give away a second after being denied so many victories in the past few races by bad luck, bad strategy, bad judgment, it must have felt wildly unfair. And all this time, the team is in his radio pleading with him. You're going to need Oscar. You're going to need the team. Do the right thing. And eventually, he made the right call and let his teammate through. Maybe he'll regret it in December if Max wins by less than 7 points. But you could equally say that he lost this title in Austria when he was impatient, or in Bahrain and Saudi when the car wasn't good enough. It's never one single thing in a 24-race calendar that loses you the title. Online, there's been a lot of criticism of the team, of Lando, and of the whole situation. I kind of think that's slightly misplaced. Let's be frank, Sebastian Vettel would never have done this. I doubt Max, Lewis, Michael, or Ayrton would have done this. But Lando isn't them. He's much more considerate. Doing things the right way is more important to him. Today, Lando lost the race, but I think he's won so much more.
Thank you so much for joining me for this look back at the Hungarian Grand Prix. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know what you think about the whole Lando-Oscar team rules fiasco in the comments below. If you'd like to see some more images from the race, there's a link in the description. And if you haven't yet, please do like and subscribe. It really helps me grow the channel. The next race is the Belgian Grand Prix in Spa-Francorchamps, the last race before the summer break. So until then, goodbye.